second episode, named Exile, begins with Serena waking up in the woods. She discovers that Noah was unharmed by the fall from the train. She finds a church, believing this is a sign from God. A woman shows and asks if she needs help, eventually bringing her to a religious commune called Canaan. Serena is still in Canada, and these guys very welcoming to refugees. There's only women and children that live in this place, and introducing herself, Serena decides to change her name to Rachel. June awakens inside her mum, Holly's house. Her arm seems to be getting better, and she remains steadfast in her role to try and save all the other handmaids, and by extension, Hannah. As for Holly, she was dragged out of her apartment in the past, tried in court, and eventually sent to the colonies. She wound up putting her doctor skills to good use there, though, working to take care of the aunts and the guardians. They kept her prisoner and killed all her friends in the process. But through all of this, she held on with the faith that she'd be reunited with June once more. So how did she escape? Well, the army liberated her colony about 6 months back. She got sent to Alaska, but since moving there, she's had no internet, and they're pretty cut off from everybody. They get 5 minutes a week at the public phones, and whilst there, she called every refugee agency and heard nothing. The camp was only meant to be temporary, but given the number of refugees coming in, it was eventually made to be a permanent way station for other areas. The wait lists are long, though, but Holly stayed here with the hopes of seeing June and Hannah again. Meanwhile, Luke is reunited with Moira and Mark after being allowed to leave the station, with word that June has got to Alaska. Mark is working on expediting his hearing, but this could take 4 months. He's stuck in Toronto for the time being and can't get out until this is over. Luke is angsty to get moving and do something, but Mayday already are. They're moving on the commanders who shot down the planes and intend to kill them all, gathering what intel they can before striking. Nick shows up to see Lawrence, who's adamant that he was not behind June being hit with the truck. However, his idea for New Bethlehem is a big hit with those in Gilead, and they have a long waiting list to get in. Nick is not alone here, though, as his new father-in-law, Commander Gabriel Wharton, is also along for the ride. We saw him briefly last episode, and he comes up with the idea of using Serena to welcome the citizens back home. He's concerned because despite being their global ambassador, they haven't heard from Serena in a while. Well, Nick decides to double his efforts to try and find her, but as we know, he's also working as a mole with Mark. The pair meet, where Mark hands over an encrypted phone and gives orders to pass over the schedule of Gilead patrols in No Man's Land. In the midst of this, Rita decides to entertain the idea of going to New Bethlehem. She believes they may have a lead on her sister, but Moira doesn't think it's a good move. However, June rings and she manages to speak to the group, updating on current affairs. We then cut forward 2 months later. Serena is still at the Faith Commune, where the leader admits that she knew who Serena was the minute she showed up. She's actually read her book and urges Serena to set things right. Given is watching her. Well, that he happens to be Lawrence, as it turns out, and he shows to take her back to Gilead, specifically back to New Bethlehem. He alludes to her initial vision, pointing out that New Bethlehem is kinder and gentler, the perfect place to see her religious vision in all its glory. He wants her to be the face of the Reformed community and promises her independence too. If she refuses, well, the eyes know exactly where she is and could swoop in and take Noah from her. That's the implication, at least, because Lawrence tells her it's only a matter of time before that intel extends out to the Wheelers. So naturally, Serena is going back to New Bethlehem. June is up in Alaska hanging out too. She's struggling to get through to Luke, though. Why? Well, when she rings Mark, she finds out that Luke has volunteered to join Mayday and fight back. Unfortunately, he and Moira are now stuck in No Man's Land, thanks to some impromptu patrols showing up, forcing them to remain rooted and hidden. That is, if they're even still alive. As for Nick, he's conflicted over what choices to make and whether to help Mark or embrace his new life with Rosie. He obviously thinks the whole plan is futile, especially when Mark mentions how Mayday are just a bunch of civilians coming together to fight. In the end, he makes his choice and throws the SIM card from the burner in the fire that night. With Wharton breathing down his neck and his faith in the rebellion waning, that's not good news for June. When she finds out about the Mayday operation, she works to try and contact Nick. She believes he'll respond to her, but Holly is not so sure. She urges June to reconsider, believing the whole thing is a setup and a trap. As they fight, June lashes out and calls Holly out for abandoning her. Holly has been trying to save her, and now that they're reunited, June is about to leave again, which is tearing her apart. However, June does eventually compromise, deciding to leave Nicole with her, pointing out that her real name is Holly, named after her mum. So after all of that, both Serena and June are heading back after all, each with their own crusade and personal demons to overcome. Serena arrives in New Bethlehem with Noah, and the bright new houses contrast beautifully with June's return to the rebellion group of Mayday, who are holed up in an abandoned, dingy house. June turns to the group of rebels here and tells them they need to bring them home.